Hi, welcome to Nina in the Kitchen, where today I want to show you how to make a very simple and very delicious rice pilaf, and we'll talk about how you can change it up to suit you. What a pilaf is actually a rice that is stirred and coated in oil or a fat. What I'm using today is Basmati, and that Basmati rice will give you the most flavor, and also it's the fluffiest rice. The reason for that is that these long, thin grains don't have much starch on them. Now you can use another long grain rice if you like, but Basmati rice is called the king of rice. It's also called popcorn rice because it's very aromatic as you're toasting it or cooking it. It's a fabulous rice to try, and it's readily available. So please try that. The first thing that you want to do is rinse your rice. Any starch that's on here can make this gummy in the end. So all that you do to rinse it is just cover it. Now, as you saw, these are long, thin grains. So you don't want to agitate it like this. What I do is just take your hand or a spatula of some sort and just stir it gently. And all of that white stuff on there is the starch that's coming off. And you can do this, put it in a strainer, do this about 3 times, or what I do is I just and when this runs clear or relatively clear, then you're finished. And all that I'm going to do now is just put this into a strainer and let that dry a little bit while we proceed with the rest of the recipe. So the rest of the ingredients are, I have some chicken stock. This is homemade, but of course you can use the boxed stock or broth, whatever you'd like. This is 2 cups to 1 cup of rice. I also have, this was 3 cloves of garlic, and that's going to be about 2 tablespoons of garlic. This is a shallot, and I only use a shallot because it was staring at me when I opened my fridge, but you can easily substitute this with an onion. Usually that's what I use. And that's 1/4 cup or 40 grams of onion. Then I have 1 bay leaf. This is saffron. Now you're not going to use nearly that much, but we'll talk about that later. I have 2 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to go with 2 tablespoons of olive oil. That's about 50 milliliters. Just give it a little tour around the pan. And the first thing to go in is going to be your onion. Now, one way that you can change this up is by using any vegetable, carrots, a mirepoix, which is equal amounts of carrots, celery, and onion. Any aromatic vegetable that you have will work here. And the reason for the olive oil is the oil has a higher smoke point than butter, but the butter gives a great flavor. This is an extra virgin oil, and because we're going to just sweat this. Now, I had this up to like a medium heat. The pan was hot. I've turned it down to a medium low, and the idea is you don't want that to brown. You just want it to soften up. I can see it starting to change right about now. It's not translucent, as they say, but it's starting to cook, and I can smell it. It's fragrant. So I'm moving on to the next step, which is butter. Butter's for flavor. And I can throw the garlic in now. If you throw the garlic in at the same time as the onion, you're going to burn the garlic. So no bueno. So you want to kind of stagger that. This is an unsalted butter. So if you use salted butter, and it's also an unsalted stock. So if you want to use salted butter, taste as you go. Make sure you're not going to make this too salty. But right now I'm going to add that bay leaf. The bay leaf is a great flavor in here, and it's something that if you don't use, you do miss it, but you don't really taste it. It's well in the background, as well as these vegetables, actually. When this is all done, you won't notice that there's pieces of garlic or onion in here. It'll just sort of meld into the pilaf as a whole. I'm going to give this about 3 minutes to soften up. This is on a low heat right now. I'll soften it, come back in 3, we'll put this all together. The next ingredient to go in is going to be saffron. And saffron, if you don't know what it is the stamen of the crocus flower. You can see this is the little stamen of a crocus, and this has to be hand harvested. So as a result of that, it is the most expensive spice in the world. Now I'm going to call this a pinch. It's just a little few threads, and that is just enough to not only color this rice but flavor it. The flavor of saffron, if you use too much of it, it's sort of like nutmeg. If it's there, it's fabulous. But if you can identify what it is, then you've used too much. So this saffron will flavor the rice. It will, it's already becoming aromatic. It will stain it yellow or orange. If you use too much, it can taste medicinal. So be very careful with it. When you buy a pilaf in a box at the supermarket, if you'll notice, it never contains saffron. Saffron is an ingredient that is just too expensive, I guess, for them to use and keep the price down. What they'll use is turmeric. And turmeric is fabulous, but it's not, you're not going to get the same flavor. I can guarantee you, once you start making your own pilaf, you're going to have a hard time reaching for the boxed stuff. Now let's go in with the starch, the rice. We're just going to put that in, turn the heat up a bit, and let this toast. I have the heat up to a medium high, and what I'm doing now is I'm just coating every grain of rice with oil. And I should say with fat, because one way that you can switch this up is by putting bacon in here, bacon and onions. The technique of pilaf, again, is just that you're coating this rice with an oil. You can bake this, you can cook it on the stovetop. Typically I do mine on the stovetop, but whatever you're used to is fine. And whenever you have a starch, whether it's pasta or potatoes or rice, it uptakes any seasoning that you give it. So today we're using chicken stock, like I said, and salt. Now I'm just going to go in with this unsalted chicken. That was 2 cups or 500 milliliters of unsalted chicken stock. I'm just going to add a little bit of salt, and that's just a big pinch. Now this is coming up to a boil. You want to make sure that all of your rice is knocked down into that stock or broth, whatever you're using. And we're going to take this down so that it's just at a bare simmer. Put the lid on it, just like that. 10 minutes. I'll take the lid off. I'll show you what it looks like. We'll go to the next step. One thing that I wanted to show you is this is something that I teach my classes, and I think it's a great little tip, that when you have a bunch of parsley like this that you want to cut and you only want the leaves, the way that I separate it is I just hold on to the bunch, put as much together as you can. Now, these thicker stems are maybe not necessarily what you want to eat, but the ones that are up here are very fine, and they're delicious, so why not use everything? I hold on to this and I put my knife almost flat, like a 10-degree angle to the board, and then instead of slicing or sawing, I just go through like that and remove the tops, and I separate the stems, which I keep for stock, and then these beautiful leaves. Then you just roll it up and give it a little chop, and you have minced parsley. Now onto the rice. This rice has been steaming for about 10 minutes, and if you look at the lid, I have a glass lid here, so you can see there's a lot of steam that's collected on the bottom. All that I do is remove this. Let me get some hand protection here. Remove this, and as I move this around, you'll see that there's really not much liquid. There's a little drop. The bottom of this pan is just barely wet, and that's exactly what you want. So what I'm going to do now is add pepper. The closer that you do it to service, the more pungent that pepper will will be, the more pronounced the flavor will be from the black pepper. And then I'm just going to gently take a fork and you just gently push everything around. Another great flavor in here, especially if you're doing chicken or seafood, is lemon zest. I'm just going to taste this. Use a little salt. Fluff it around again. Another little taste. Now it's really good. So let this sit for another 10 minutes. And what happens in that time is the residual heat from the steam will continue to cook this. If you taste it right now, and you should, you'll see it's just a little crunchy inside, a little too al dente than what you probably want. So 10 minutes off heat. I'll see you then. So here we are. This is the pilaf. And every grain is just perfectly separate from the other. This is not gummy at all. Let's remove this while I see it and get a little taste. It smells so good. It's amazing how little saffron you need to flavor something. Really, really delicious. A little saffron goes a long way. If you don't have some in your pantry, please buy it. It's so good in here. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you come back for more stuff. I have good stuff coming up. Bye, guys.